Have you ever poured money into expensive bags of bug killer, scattered them across your field, and still watched your crops mysteriously die from the roots up? You are definitely not alone in this frustration. Today, we are breaking down a massive topic that ruins harvests every single year. We are talking about soil insecticides. Specifically, we are sharing the ultimate insider knowledge from a veteran shop owner with 20 years of experience in the pesticide business. I am going to promise you one thing right now. By the end of this video, you will never look at a bag of garden chemicals the same way again. Here is the harsh truth that contradicts what most weekend gardeners believe. Soil insecticides are absolutely not created equal. There is no magical, one-size-fits-all solution sitting on the shelf. Thinking that any random powder will fix your dirt is a dangerous myth. We are going to reveal the hidden mechanics of how these chemicals actually interact with your specific earth. I want you to head down to the comments right now. Tell me, have you ever blamed bad seeds or bad weather for a failed crop? When looking back, it was probably underground bugs eating your roots. Let us know your worst pest disaster. Before we dive into the specific rules, we need to understand the battlefield beneath our feet. For decades, the agricultural industry treated the soil like a simple sponge. The old mindset was just to soak the ground in heavy, broad-spectrum chemicals and let them kill everything in sight. But over the last 20 years, science and practical farming have proven this method is deeply flawed. Soil is a complex, living, breathing ecosystem. It is packed with minerals, organic matter, water, and millions of microscopic organisms. When you introduce a powerful synthetic insecticide into this environment, a massive chemical reaction takes place. The veteran shop owners who have survived in this business know that the dirt itself dictates how the chemical will behave. In the past, farmers would use extremely harsh fumigants that wiped out the good bugs right alongside the bad ones. Today, we have highly specialized tools designed for very specific jobs. Understanding the background of how these modern formulas interact with different earth types is the only way to protect your plants effectively. Now, let us break down the 20 absolute laws of using soil insecticides correctly, straight from the expert. Let us start with the biggest trap that catches almost every single beginner. This is the myth of the universal bug killer. A farmer walks into a shop, points at a colourful bag with a picture of a dead beetle on it, and says, "They want that one." The 20-year expert immediately stops them. Here is a vivid example of why this fails. Imagine taking cough medicine when you actually have a broken leg. Both are medical treatments, but applying the wrong one is completely useless. Soil insecticides are formulated to target specific biological pathways in insects. Some target the nervous system of grubs, others disrupt the molting process of specific worms. If you buy a product designed for wireworms, but your field is actually infested with root knot nematodes, you have just wasted your money. You have also dumped useless chemicals into your local environment for zero benefit. You must completely erase the idea that any chemical labelled for soil will automatically kill whatever is bothering your plants. The first step is always identifying the exact enemy you are fighting. Without knowing the specific pest, you are just blindly throwing expensive darts at a board you cannot even see. This mindset shift is the foundation of professional crop protection. Now we need to talk about the physical texture of your dirt. This is where things get highly scientific, but incredibly important. Soil texture completely changes how an insecticide moves and acts. Let us look at a stark contrast between sandy soil and heavy clay. Sandy soil is made of large, loose particles. Water moves through it very quickly. If you apply a highly water-soluble liquid, insecticide, to sandy ground right before a heavy rain, it will wash right past the root zone. The bugs will survive, and your chemical ends up deep in the groundwater. Now picture thick, sticky clay soil. Clay particles are microscopic and tightly packed. They actually have a negative electrical charge that aggressively binds to certain chemical molecules. If you use the wrong formula in heavy clay, the dirt itself will lock the chemical up. It acts like a magnet, holding the insecticide so tightly that the bugs can crawl right through it without absorbing a lethal dose. The veteran advice here is clear. You must read the label to see how the product performs in your specific soil texture. Some products explicitly warn against use in heavy clay for this exact reason. Knowing your dirt is just as important as knowing your chemical. Here is a factor that almost nobody considers until it is too late. The hidden power of soil moisture. The amount of water currently sitting in your field is the main delivery system for your pest control. Let us bust a very common myth right now. Many people think that applying granular insecticides to bone, dry dirt is fine because the next rain will wash it in. This is a massive mistake. If you apply granules to heavily cracked, dry earth, the chemical just sits on the surface, baking in the sun. Ultraviolet light from the sun rapidly degrades the active ingredients. By the time it finally rains 3 days later, half the killing power has simply evaporated into the thin air. On the flip side, what happens if your field is completely flooded? If the soil is fully saturated, there is no room for the insecticide to penetrate the soil matrix. It will simply pool on the surface and run off into the nearest ditch. A perfect example is trying to paint a piece of wood that is completely soaked in water. The paint just will not stick. The ideal condition is moist, but not heavily saturated soil. This allows the chemical to dissolve gently and move uniformly through the top few inches where the destructive pests actually live and feed. Temperature traps are another secret killer of your pest control budget. The veteran shop owner sees this specific failure every single spring. Farmers get impatient. The calendar says it is time to plant, so they go out and spread their soil treatments, even though the ground is still freezing cold. Here is the biological reality. Almost all soil-dwelling insects are cold-blooded. When the soil temperature drops below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, these bugs go into a state of deep dormancy. They stop moving, and more importantly, they stop feeding. If you apply a systemic insecticide that needs to be eaten by the pest, you are completely wasting your time. The bugs are essentially asleep. The chemical sits in the cold, wet dirt and slowly breaks down before the bugs ever wake up to take a bite. Conversely, applying certain volatile chemicals during a massive summer heatwave is equally disastrous. Extreme heat causes rapid evaporation of the product before it can bond with the soil particles. You are basically paying to fumigate the open air. You must buy a cheap soil thermometer. Wait until the soil temperature consistently hits the active feeding zone for your specific target pest. Timing your application strictly by soil temperature, not by the calendar, is a master-level farming trick. Let us dive into the great debate between granular and liquid applications. This choice can make or break your entire season. Granular insecticides are essentially tiny rocks or clay pellets coated in the active chemical. They are heavy, they are highly visible, and they are incredibly popular, but they have a very specific purpose. Granular products provide a slow, steady release of protection. They are perfect for long-season crops, like corn or potatoes, where you need a barrier of defense that lasts for weeks or months. Think of granular products as a slow-burning log on a campfire. However, they are virtually useless if you already have a massive, active infestation tearing your roots apart right now. They simply take too long to activate. You have to wait for moisture to slowly dissolve the coating. If you have grubs destroying your lawn or field today, waiting 2 weeks for a granule to activate means your plants will be dead before the chemical even starts working. This is a classic mistake. The veteran shop owner always asks the customer one question. Are you trying to prevent a future problem, or are you trying to stop a current disaster? Your answer dictates whether you buy the heavy bag of granules. So, when do you reach for the liquid drenching options? Liquid soil insecticides are the emergency response team of the agricultural world. When you mix a concentrated liquid with water and spray, or pour it directly onto the soil, the action is immediate. The chemical is already dissolved and readily available to bind with the soil or be absorbed by the roots. This is exactly what you need when you discover an active colony of root maggots destroying your young seedlings. Think of liquid treatments like throwing a bucket of water directly onto a fire. The impact happens right then and there. But this speed comes with a massive trade-off that you must understand. Because liquids are immediately available, they also break down and wash away significantly faster than granular options. Their residual lifespan in the dirt is much shorter. If you use a liquid treatment weeks before the main pest migration happens, the chemical will be entirely gone by the time the bugs arrive. Liquid is for immediate rescue and short-term, highly targeted strikes. Never use a liquid drench, expecting it to protect your field for an entire growing season. Matching the formulation type to the urgency of your situation is absolutely critical. Identifying the enemy is not just a suggestion, it is a strict requirement. Let us look at a terrifying example of mistaken identity. Imagine a farmer noticing his plants are wilting and turning yellow. He assumes it is white grubs, which are very common. He buys a heavy-duty grub killer and blankets his field. But the plants keep dying. Why did this happen? Because the actual culprit was the microscopic root knot nematode. Nematodes are not insects. They are tiny, unsegmented roundworms that live deep inside the plant roots. A standard grub killer will do absolutely zero damage to a nematode. The farmer just spent hundreds of dollars and lost his entire crop because he guessed. The veteran advice is to always grab a shovel. Dig up several sick plants, being careful to keep the surrounding dirt intact. Get down on your hands and knees and physically examine the root system. Are the roots chewed completely off? That is likely a grub or a wireworm. Are there strange tumour-like bumps covering the roots? That is the classic sign of nematodes. You must find the physical pest or its specific damage signature. If you cannot identify it, take the sick plant to your local agricultural extension office. Never guess when your livelihood is on the line. Now we step into the invisible chemistry of your field. Let us talk about the pH puzzle. Soil. pH measures how acidic or alkaline your dirt is on a scale from 0 to 14. Most farmers know pH affects fertilizer, but very few realize it drastically alters pesticides. Here is the secret science. Many common soil insecticides undergo a process called alkaline hydrolysis. This is a fancy way of saying that highly alkaline dirt will literally rip the chemical molecules apart. If your soil pH is exceptionally high, say an 8.5, and you apply an organophosphate insecticide, the chemical can degrade and become completely useless in a matter of hours. The manufacturer designed the product to last for 3 weeks, but your alkaline soil destroyed it before dinner time. You will think you bought a bad batch, but the reality is your soil killed the cure. Let us look at the opposite problem. Highly acidic soils can lock up certain chemicals, preventing them from moving through the soil profile at all. You must test your soil pH before applying anything expensive. If your pH is out of balance, you might need to choose an entirely different class of chemical, or fix your pH issues before you even think about killing bugs. Organic matter interference is another huge stumbling block for amateur growers. Organic matter includes compost, decaying leaves, manure, and old crop residue. We are always told that adding organic matter is amazing for our gardens, and for plant health, it absolutely is. But it acts like a giant sponge for pesticides. Organic matter has a massive surface area and a high capacity to absorb complex chemical compounds. Let us say you just tilled 4 inches of rich, beautiful mushroom compost into your garden beds. If you immediately spray a soil insecticide, that compost is going to soak up the vast majority of the active ingredient. The chemical binds so tightly to the organic carbon that it never reaches the insects living slightly deeper down. You essentially just poisoned your compost instead of killing the target bugs. To compensate for high organic matter, farmers sometimes have to apply the absolute maximum legal rate of the chemical just to ensure enough product slips past the compost layer to do the job. The 20-year shop owner always asks his customers how much manure they recently spread. If the answer is a lot, he will immediately adjust his product recommendation to account for the heavy organic interference. Tilling depth danger is a mechanical mistake that ruins perfect chemical choices. When you apply a granular soil insecticide, the label almost always tells you to incorporate it into the soil. This means mixing it in. But how deep should you go? This is where people fail. Let us say your specific pest, like a root maggot, lives exactly in the top 2 inches of the soil profile. You apply your expensive granules and then fire up your heavy-duty tractor tiller. You aggressively till the soil down to a depth of 8 inches. What have you just done? You have taken the concentrated chemical barrier meant for the top 2 inches and diluted it wildly across 8 inches of dirt. The concentration of the insecticide in the actual danger zone is now far too low to kill anything. The bugs in the top layer will survive because the dose is too weak. Meanwhile, you have pushed toxic chemicals deep into the subsoil where they serve no purpose at all. You must match your incorporation depth to the biological habits of the pest. If the bug lives shallow, you use a light harrow to barely scratch the surface. Precision mechanical placement is just as important as the chemical itself. Decoding the active ingredients is a skill you must learn to stop getting scammed by marketing. When you walk into the shop, you will see a wall of bright bottles. Some say ultimate bug death, while others say maximum root guard. The 20-year expert ignores all of these flashy names. He looks at the tiny print on the bottom right corner of the label. The active ingredient is the only thing that actually matters. Let us bust a major retail myth. You might see 3 different brands of soil insecticide with wildly different prices. One costs $20, another costs $40, and the premium brand costs $60. If you flip them around and read the tiny print, you might discover that all 3 contain exactly 0.2% bifenthrin. They are the exact same chemical, doing the exact same job. You are paying $40 extra for a shiny plastic jug and a television commercial. By learning to read and compare the active ingredient names, you can buy the generic or agricultural grade versions for a fraction of the cost. Do not buy a brand name. Buy a specific chemical compound. This one tip alone will save you thousands of dollars over a farming career. We urgently need to discuss the terrifying problem of pesticide resistance. This is how you create superbugs in your own backyard. Imagine you find a chemical that works perfectly. It wipes out all your grubs. It is cheap, and it is easy to use. So, you use it again next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. Here is what is happening biologically. No insecticide kills 100% of a population. There are always a few mutant bugs that naturally survive the spray. When you use the same chemical repeatedly, you kill all the normal bugs, leaving only the mutants to breed. Within 5 years, you will have a field completely full of insects that are totally immune to your favourite product. The veteran shop owner sees farmers crying over destroyed crops because they refuse to rotate their chemicals. You must alternate the class of insecticide you use every single season. If you use a pyrethroid this year, you must switch to an entirely different mode of action, like a neonicotinoid, the following year. You have to hit the bugs from different biological angles to prevent them from adapting. Chemical rotation is mandatory, not optional. Understanding the difference between systemic and contact action is crucial for winning the war. These are the 2 primary ways soil insecticides actually do their killing. A contact insecticide is basically a deadly minefield. It stays in the soil, and when a bug physically crawls through it or touches it, the bug dies. This is great for highly mobile pests that travel through the dirt to find roots. But what about pests that hatch directly on the root and barely move? This is where systemic insecticides come into play. A systemic product is actually absorbed by the plant roots and pulled up into the plant tissue itself. The plant essentially becomes toxic from the inside out. When the bug takes a bite of the root, it ingests the poison and dies. A perfect example is protecting young vegetable transplants. A systemic drench at planting time protects the roots as they grow into new, untreated soil. However, systemic products take time to be absorbed by the plant. If you have a massive army of hungry cutworms chopping down your stems right now, a systemic will be too slow. You would need a fast-acting contact killer. Knowing how the poison is delivered is the key to strategy. Pre-planting protocols are where the real professionals make their money. The absolute best time to manage soil pests is before there is a single plant in the ground. This gives you massive tactical advantages. When the field is bare, you can aggressively till the soil to expose pests to birds and sunlight. You can apply heavy broadcast treatments without worrying about burning delicate plant leaves. The 20-year veteran highly recommends a strategy called broadcast and incorporate. You spread the precise amount of granular insecticide evenly across the bare dirt and immediately lightly till it into the top few inches. This creates a uniform zone of death that any sprouting seed will be protected by. Attempting to get uniform coverage after the plants are tall and bushy is incredibly difficult. The leaves block the spray, the tractor wheels damage the crop, and the coverage is always patchy. Doing the hard work of chemical application before you drop the seeds ensures maximum efficiency and minimum waste. Preparation is always cheaper than trying to rescue a dying field. Post-planting emergencies are a nightmare, but you need to know how to handle them. Sometimes, despite all your preparation, a sudden pest outbreak occurs in the middle of the season. Your corn is waist-high, and suddenly the roots are being devoured. Granules are useless now because you cannot till them into the soil without destroying the corn roots. You are forced to use post-planting rescue treatments. This usually involves liquid drenches applied directly to the base of each individual plant, or running specialized chemicals through a drip irrigation system. This process is called chemigation. Here is the brutal reality you must face. Rescue treatments are always more expensive, require much more labor, and are generally less effective than pre-planting treatments. It is incredibly hard to push chemicals deep into the soil matrix when the ground is already heavily packed and full of roots. The water wants to run off the surface rather than soak in deeply. If you are forced into a post-planting rescue, you must apply the liquid slowly and heavily over the exact root zone. Pumping it between the rows will do absolutely nothing. Safe handling realities cannot be ignored. We are talking about highly concentrated neurotoxins designed to kill living biological organisms. You are a living biological organism. The 20-year veteran has seen too many tough farmers develop severe health problems because they refuse to wear basic protective gear. Let us bust the macho farmer myth right now. Breathing in chemical dust while pouring bags into a hopper is not a badge of honor. It is incredibly dangerous. Many modern soil insecticides can be absorbed directly through your skin, especially when you are sweating heavily on a hot day. You absolutely must wear chemical-resistant gloves, not cheap leatherwork gloves that will just soak up the poison and hold it against your skin. You need long sleeves, proper eye protection, and a respirator if you are dealing with dusty granules or volatile liquids. Furthermore, you must respect the re-entry intervals printed on the label. This is the legal amount of time you must wait before walking back into the treated field without protective gear. Ignoring these safety protocols to save 5 minutes of sweating is the worst mistake you can possibly make on a farm. Storage degradation is the silent thief in your barn. Chemicals are not immortal. They are highly reactive compounds that break down over time. Imagine leaving a loaf of bread in a hot shed for a year. You would never expect it to be good. Yet farmers routinely expect a half-used bag of insecticide sitting in a damp, freezing barn to perform perfectly 3 years later. Extreme heat causes liquid formulations to separate and lose their potency. Freezing temperatures can completely destroy the chemical emulsion, leaving you with a useless sludge at the bottom of the jug. High humidity in a storage shed will cause granular products to clump together into giant, unusable concrete blocks. The expert advice is to only buy exactly what you need for the current season. Do not buy bulk pallets on sale if it will take you 4 years to use them. The money you save on the bulk discount will be entirely lost when the chemical degrades and fails to protect your crop in year 3. Store all chemicals in a dry, temperature-controlled environment, tightly sealed. Treat them like expensive medicine because that is exactly what they are for your farm. Weather forecasting for spraying is an absolute art form. You cannot simply look out the window, see sunshine, and decide to spray. You have to look 3 days into the future. Let us examine the mechanics of weather and chemicals. If you apply a highly mobile liquid drench on a Tuesday and a massive thunderstorm drops 3 inches of rain on Wednesday, your application is completely ruined. The heavy water flow will literally flush the insecticide straight down through the soil profile, completely bypassing the root zone where the bugs live. The chemical is gone, your money is gone, and the bugs are fine. On the other hand, if you apply a granular product that requires water to activate and you enter a severe 3-week drought, the granules will just sit there, in the dust, doing nothing while the bugs continue to eat. You must time your applications with absolute precision. You want to apply liquids when the forecast shows gentle, moderate soil moisture with no heavy downpours expected. You want to apply granules right before a light, soaking rain is predicted to gently wash the chemical into the earth. You are playing chess with the sky. Combining products is a highly advanced tactic that causes massive problems for beginners. It is very tempting to mix a soil insecticide, a liquid fertilizer, and a fungicide all into one giant tank to save time on the tractor. This is known as a tank mix. But here is the dangerous myth. You cannot just mix complex chemicals together and assume they will play nicely. Many products are physically incompatible. If you mix the wrong insecticide with a heavy liquid calcium fertilizer, they can instantly react and form a thick, useless jelly that will completely clog your expensive sprayer nozzles. Even worse, some chemical combinations can create extreme phytotoxicity. This means the new chemical mixture you just created is actually highly toxic to your own plants. You might successfully kill the bugs, but you will burn the roots of your crop to death in the process. Before you ever combine 2 products in a tank, you must perform a jar test. Mix small amounts of the products in a glass jar in the exact ratios you plan to use. Let it sit and watch for clumping, heat generation, or separation. Never experiment directly on your valuable field. Finally, we must talk about evaluating your success. How do you actually know if the expensive chemical you applied did its job? Most people just look to see if the plants are green and assume everything is fine. But the 20-year veteran demands proof. You have to go back to the scene of the crime. 2 weeks after your application, you must take your shovel and dig up random test areas in the field. You need to sift through the dirt with your hands. Are you finding dead grubs? Are you finding absolutely nothing? Or are you finding fat, healthy wireworms happily chewing on your fresh roots? If you find live bugs after a treatment, you must immediately investigate why it failed. Did you calculate the application rate incorrectly? Was the soil pH too high? Did it rain too much? By physically evaluating the results in the dirt, you learn exactly how your specific field responds to the chemicals. This feedback loop is what separates the struggling amateur from the master grower. You document your successes, you analyze your failures, and you adjust your strategy for the next season. Farming is a constant science experiment. So, what is the ultimate takeaway from 20 years of hard-earned agricultural wisdom? It is the mind-blowing realization that soil insecticides are not just simple poisons. They are highly complex chemical tools that must be precisely matched to the specific living environment of your dirt. The turning point for any grower is realizing that throwing random chemicals at a problem usually causes more harm than good. You have learned that soil texture, pH levels, temperature, and specific pest identification dictate everything. By understanding the difference between granular and liquid, systemic and contact, you now have the power to protect your crops efficiently and safely. You will never again waste your money on the wrong product or accidentally breed superbugs through poor chemical rotation. Farming is tough, but fighting blind makes it impossible. If this deep dive into professional soil management blew your mind, you need to subscribe to the channel right now for more uncompromising agricultural truth. Hit that like button to help spread this crucial information to other farmers who are struggling. And before you go, I have a massive question for you. What is the biggest mistake you have ever made when trying to kill garden bugs? Drop your story in the comments below, let us learn from each other, and I will see you in the next video.